Okay, I'm going live. Good morning and happy Thursday, Nelson County. Welcome to episode 14/15/ who knows what day of the week it is here at the Community Brew Live. So, sincere apologies for any technical difficulties on those links. I see you guys made it to whatever episode this is. So, welcome and good morning. And we are so excited to kick off this very special episode of the Community Brew. And I'm going to let Chase Goff explain what's going to happen, and we're going to get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Brooke. So when we did this on Monday, we opened it up and asked you guys what are some things that you wanted to see and what this might look like. And so one of the things that came up a couple times was really how are schools and different teachers engaging kids as part of this NTI process. And so we solicited the help of our principals, and they gave us some people that were doing some pretty cool stuff around NTI that they wanted to share and showcase. And so I'm excited this morning to have this group with us. So essentially how this will work is each one of them will take a few minutes and kind of tell you a little bit about what they're doing with NTI and how they got to that place. And then we'll have some time for any clarifying questions or feedback from the chat. And we'll kind of move through that way. Okay. So I don't know who wants to go first. Brooke, I don't know if you have a order that you would prefer, or just let them have at it.
Well, yeah, I say let's go. Whoever wants to go, unmute. It's a race.
I'll go first. Oh, okay, go.
Shelby, ding ding ding. Shelby, I'll be the judge. Shelby's going first. Woo!
I am Shelby Fulkerson. I'm a 5th grade gifted minds teacher at Foster Heights Elementary School. At the beginning of this, I think that I was really afraid that this NTI work would hinder our students' learning experiences. And although we've had a lot of challenges and curveballs, I was wrong. This is really giving them an opportunity to thrive in ways that I don't think they would have had an opportunity to in the traditional classroom setting. So we're seeing our 5th graders just completely explore their individuality and their passions and their independence. When we're not breathing down their neck of like, oh, get your work done, you have to get your work done, they're still coming to the table and bringing their best so that they can learn the best they can. And that's been really awesome. Something that we've been doing to help them explore their individuality and their passions and, I don't know, their interests, I guess, is we've been flipping the classroom. And so we will allow them to become the expert on whatever subject they want to, whether that's something that they were already really good at, or something they knew a lot about, or something that they didn't know a lot about. And they're just curious and they learn, they completely control what they want to teach. And then they come to the class and they teach everybody else about what they've learned about. There are 2 main ways that we've been doing that. We've been doing screencastifies, where they will record their lesson prior to a meeting and they'll post it on our Google Classroom so that everybody can learn at their own pace. And we've also been doing Google Meets with that. And for our class specifically, the definitely having students do it at their own pace works better, because getting 23 5th graders online at the same time doesn't work very well. But that's been something that we've been doing, and we've seen really good results. That when we don't have any expectations for kids and we say, you know what, just go and learn and then come back and teach us, that they are just thriving.
Yeah, I really like that, Shelby. That's, when we started this NTI process and we outlined a couple of learning priorities, one of them was reading and writing, and one of them was a student gift exploration. And I think that's the one that gets a little murky, because it's like, what do you do with that, right? Like, okay, students are going to explore their gifts, but I think it's been really cool to see some of that learning emerge. And I think it's neat to think about them being the expert and being able to learn and teach the other students. And that's a really, really thoughtful process. Cool. All right. Brooke, I don't know if you just want to jump in ever so often with the chat, or we're kind of learning by doing here.
Yeah, sure, I can. We we do have a little bit of a delay, just so you guys are aware, but we've got like when you all talk, there's like usually a couple minutes, so the chat doesn't necessarily always sync up. So we might want to like roll on with the demos, and then I can come back at the end with some questions. So if you're watching in the chat, and you have feedback or questions or like anything that you want to mention, just drop it in the chat, and then we'll kind of circle back to that at the end.
Cool. All right, who's next?
I'll go. So I wanted to say, Shelby, a shout out to you. Like, I agree. I think all of us in this time are, we originally in our evolution of thinking thought like, oh my God, we got to make sure our kids are getting everything that they need. And we've really like, that's been shown that that's not the truth. So I think the NTI, so I'm Randy Jury from the Academy. I teach there. And for me, really the NTI experience, or for my kids and myself, has been an evolution in thinking. So we've been exploring the question, what is learning, the whole time. Still don't really know what that is in a time like this, but again, it's an evolution, right? So I think the work my kids and I are currently exploring stems from a YouTube series by Kelly Gallagher and Penny Kettle. Kelly is the author of Read Aside. And they've basically been doing a teacher PD every day in what does it look like to read and write in this time period. So really I fell in love with their thinking and that there's power in sharing our vulnerabilities through writing. So currently for my kids, we're reading and writing together and having a conversation about what we are thinking and really learning the power of human connections and that less is more. So as we probably change again in a couple of weeks because we've been through a lot of different stages, my kids and I, we will just make it better together.
I love that you talked about the Kelly Gallagher and Penny Kettle. I'm not sure you said her last name. That YouTube live. So I've been geeking out over it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, so I don't know if like other people do that as well. But it's really cool to see. If you're not familiar, Kelly Gallagher and Penny, they've done a lot of. I think they've been pioneers really in education of having us think like, what is the purpose of reading and writing, and how do we engage kids in that process without making reading this burden, if you will, of what has to go on. And so being able to go in every morning and watch their YouTube live has been a really cool experience, or being able to watch it recorded has been a really cool experience. So thank you for sharing that, Randy.
Now, I want to share too, they co-authored 180 days of teaching where they got together and just really as two different content teachers and just what it looks like to read and write across contents. It was really cool.
Brooke, I feel like we're going to have to, maybe today we'll go back and create like show notes or something, because I'm sure there's going to be quite a few links and things like that we're going to want to maybe people to have. So something just thought about.
Yes, I'll add that to my to-do list, boss. On it.
I didn't say you had to do it. I said we, like as in we might want to do that. I don't think we have those Amazon affiliate links though from our YouTube channel, so I don't know if that's going to support the foundation's work right now. All right.
Hey, you're muted there, sir.
Sorry, let's do one more and then we can go to the chat for a little bit.
I can go ahead and go. I am Abby Woosley from OKH. I teach 8th grade ELA, and what Shelby and Randy have said really echo what we're going through. I'm finding that the kids leading is really the best way, and it was quite a road to get there. I think this is like the 5th week we've been doing distance learning, and when we left school, 8th grade ELA at OKH was doing a Holocaust unit. And our culminating project for that was going to be displaying projects physically at the library. So I had to kind of decide where we were going to take that. And we shifted to doing Anne Frank's diary. So we read an excerpt from that every day. And as much as Anne Frank writes about her situation, she writes about her love and her passion for writing. So as the prompt for my kids, I have them write about their current situations, which is an outlet for them to share. But I also have encouraged them and kind of required that they pick a passion to write about. And we've gotten to a place they're super into it, and they've started setting little goals, short term and long term. I've got kids doing gardening, learning instruments, kids learning that they're loving helping their siblings, thinking they might want to teach when they grow up. Computers, video games. I've got kids tracking how much they're running and things like that. So it's a great way for them to share their passion. And I think our culminating project out of this is going to be look at the passion that I've grown during this time. This is where I started with it, and this is what I've done. And we're sharing that through writing, and I think we're going to do some Flipgrid videos too.
That's really cool. I like that, Abby. The work that OKH did last year with the Holocaust and the Holocaust Museum was a really powerful experience, I think, for the community. I know it would have been really cool to see that out in our community. But that's, I think, NTI has taught us, right? Like, there's no fixed plan, that you have to continually adapt and change. For sure. That's cool.
Yeah, I love that too, Abby. Like I'm a huge like Anne Frank fan. My kid, even my 8 and 10-year-old, like we just love her story. And I've been reading a lot of sort of that time period, like historical fiction myself. So I've kind of been like immersed in it. But I love that whole idea and like giving kids that opportunity to write and explore. And like what a powerful way also to like stay connected through those writing prompts, like what's actually relevant and going on in their lives too. So if we hop over here to the comment section, going back to Shelby, literally, Shelby, I have to tell you, I have like a little back channel text, and I sent a text, and I was like, oh my gosh, Shelby's energy, like, who is she? Like, what is happening right now? I love her.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not the only one. Sonia Zelke, she was like, Shelby's energy is awesome. And then Tiffany chimed in and said, how about Shelby? I mean, she has been teaching a whopping 2 months before NTI. So, like, I just had to make that point that here you are in our panel sharing your amazing ideas as like a brand new baby teacher. So,
Thank you
you're
guys.
killing it, sis. You're killing it. Again, Ryan Fugit, she said she loved the reading and writing combination, makes it more meaningful. Lisa Regazio said Randy is a purple cow in all areas. So I have to agree with Lisa. Everybody loves you, Randy. Let's see. Amber Irvin, she says, I just try to keep it ever evolving. If at any point I feel like I'm getting bored with what I'm doing, then I know the kids are. I just try to find ways to keep it new and special. Abby, you got a shout out from Christy Lynch. She said, there's my girl Woosley. I love how you're pushing their passions. Kathy Oler gives you a shout out too, Abby. So, Kelsey also says our students are literally living history, which I couldn't agree more. Having them write about the experience is emotionally helpful, while also sharing their story of the experience for the future. So that was a powerful comment that I totally agree with. So good stuff, you guys. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things, Abby, that you were talking about, and this is something we've started to become a little more focused on. We have some really cool experiences happening for kids, and it's like, how do you ensure that those experiences in and of themselves don't become this siloed thing where kids don't see connections to other things, right? Like that could be a great student leadership experience, but how is it connected to these other things that kids have, right? So I think the power of some of the work that's going on is like we have this gift, passion, and exploration. We have reading and writing experiences, and it's like, yes, both of those are great, but how do we make sure that they're not these siloed things that don't connect? And I think that's the power of what you're doing is like the student gift, passion, exploration, this reading and writing. It's one thing, and it's creating really powerful experiences daily for kids. So I appreciate that work, and I think that's really strong stuff. So good job. All right, who's next?
I'll go. Those are 3 hard acts to follow, but along with the kids looking into their passions and exploring everything that they've been going on. My kids are very social; they're social butterflies. So I've been using Google Meet to do live chats 2 to 3 times a week, and allowing them to get on and just tell us what they're doing throughout the week and how they're going about their work, and letting them know information. We've also been using it to do our family team meetings, which would be Care and Connect too. And also, before we let out, we started doing gratitude circles every Friday. So we've been doing a family team meeting once a week and a gratitude chat, I guess, once a week. And it's allowing them to tell us what's going on at home. And so the first chat I did, it was just, kind of everybody get on, see what happens. And so after that, I had to organize it a little bit. So I have a slide deck that I use every time, and it has an agenda, and it goes through the rules and expectations, and then it just kind of lays out what we're doing. That way, the kids can also keep a little bit of a routine like we would in the classroom, but also being able to talk and tell us what's going on at home.
So, just for clarity's sake, Beth, you are at Bloomfield Elementary, and what's your grade again that you have?
4th grade.
4th grade. You also have a visitor over there that's really curious. Can you introduce us to your friend here?
This is Dylan. I'm babysitting today.
Hi, Dylan. Well, he is like really super involved. I think he might have just stolen the show here today. So, hi, Dylan.
He loves schoolwork. His brother and sister at Foster Heights, and so whenever they start doing their work, he has to do his work too.
He's like, "Oh, I got a smile. I got a smile. Hey, buddy." I love it.
That's awesome. I think video technologies, it's something that it's kind of been forced upon us, right? And how we choose to leverage that for the future is going to be interesting, because we're gonna, you envision like you're gonna have all these kids come back in August, and um, they're going to be experts at using video conferencing and technology, right? And it's not like they're just going to forget that that occurred or that happened. So it's like, what does that look like for us? Or what does that look like for students? And I think that's going to be an interesting question for us to ponder as educators across the country. What does that look like? Because it's going to be something that they're used to now. It's like you can't put things back in the box once it's open. Good deal. All right, Tyler, do you want to go, and then we'll close up with the chat?
Yes, sir. My name's Tyler Mudd. I'm a science and social studies teacher at New Haven. I think if you ask most social studies teachers, they would tell you one thing that they wish they could teach more in class would be current events. So this has been the perfect time for that. I mean, what's more important right now than current events? So I've been putting a big focus on that. We've been doing journal entries. I've had them watch the news, keeping up to date on stuff like that. Journal entries, like I said, I even put this in a prompt that you're witnessing history right now. This is the first major event like this since the 1920s or 1918 or something like that with the Spanish flu. So I have them reflecting on their daily activities. Like what are you thinking? Like, are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you happy? Are you fed up with your family? Which is what 90% of them are saying in their reflections. They're ready to get back to school, and it's fun reading them. If anybody talks to me or knows about me, they know how much I enjoy technology. So I'm taking this opportunity to try to incorporate that as well. I have some 8th graders of mine. Actually, all my 8th graders are looking at the globe here, and they're picking countries, and they are monitoring that country with how they're doing with the coronavirus, and they're putting this into Google Sheets, and they're making graphs, and they're doing updates daily. They are answering questions like, "What is your country doing to uh, to mitigate these effects and stuff like that?" So I'm having a lot of fun. It's very different, but I'm trying to incorporate, like I said, the current events idea, and then also trying to incorporate some technology. We like to think that middle schoolers and students in general know how to use technology since they were born in the iPhone age, but I assume that a lot of us are figuring out that's not true. Like a lot of them know how to get on Instagram, and a lot of them know how to get on video games, but a lot of them aren't exactly experts on on technology. So it's really cool to take some time to focus on and explicitly teach technology skills. So I'm enjoying that as well.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I mean, my kids are the same way, and it's been fun to watch that evolve. And also, this is what's currently on. I don't know if it's backwards for you guys, but it literally says conference call 3 o'clock, which is my 8-year-old's note that she put on there just so, like, in case she forgets, I remember. Because we can't miss out on the video conferencing. And Heather McGlone said, Beth, to your point, she said, great job. I'm amazed at the evolution of our meets. They started out chaotic and scattered because it was new, but now they are so productive, and it's very cool to be a part of now, which I think is a powerful statement too, to the adaptability and the flexibility of our kiddos. And to me, it's a like her comment is a powerful statement to sometimes like we as teachers get in the way of like what our kids are capable of because like we're more scared of it than them. And so kind of seeing this evolve, I think is really powerful. Beth gave you a shout out, or hang on, I said that backwards. Stephanie Smith gave you a shout out, and she said that you have created a dynamite setup with our fourth graders. She has really enjoyed the conversations from your groups. So let's see here. Emily Gann, she says, hey, Mud. She gave you a shout out. Definitely. So Tiffany Barbish, she says, great job, Tyler Mudd. You're doing a great job with our students. Christy Lynch loves the real world current events. Kelsey Behrman piped in. She said, I love that you are pulling in current events. This is a great way to keep them informed. I bet their understanding of it is alleviating some of the anxiety of the whole situation, which I couldn't agree with you more. I have a very sort of transparent conversation with my kids too, because I mean, they're just like y'all said earlier, they're living history, and I think that's really important. So good stuff, man.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, Ben Monette said this in the chat. Love that everyone who's presented is created using a living curriculum, taking pieces for students' lives and current events, and making that a fuel for learning experiences. I think I think that's what it's taught us, right? Like curriculum is not this stagnant thing. We can have the best ideas in the world in July and August and put it in a map or a plan or whatever you want to call it. But if we're doing it right, we're constantly learning and evolving without coronavirus, right? Just in normal times, like we're constantly evaluating and learning and thinking about it. And I think that's the power of the work that NTI is really forced is that we're forced to say, okay, the plans that we had in August for what March and April and May were going to look like, it's obviously that's not the same, right? So continuing to evolve and adapt, I think is a really important um, conversation. Going back a little bit, Tyler, to Kelly Gallagher conversation. So Kelly Gallagher has a website that the guy Randy was talking about. This might be another show note here that we dropped in the bottom. But every week he does a article of the week, and he puts that out for his kids, and they can read and annotate that article. And he does a really nice job of pulling a pretty diverse perspective. And I think he's mentioned this several times in the YouTube live that Randy was talking about. I think you're exemplifying that work. Like they are living history. They are, um, you know, a part of something that they might not ever experience again in their life. So it's important that they're aware. I think the other thing too, and I think Sonia Zilke said this on the chat. Um, it's not just how it's affecting them and our local community, but how it affects people in other places and countries. I think there's a lot of power in that, and thinking about like what does it mean to be a global citizen during this time and how it affects other people and places. So kudos to um, kudos to you in that. So real quick before we close off here, I did want to throw this out there and see. There's nobody, not everybody has to answer, but you can if you'd like to. Where do you guys see NTI evolving for you over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever that might look like? What are some things that you're thinking about, or maybe some ideas that have come to life that you're interested in exploring?
I know as a host school at Bloomfield Elementary, we were talking about how you know, the last couple weeks of school, especially in the elementary setting, we do a lot of like the fun activities. You know, we get them ready for K prep, which of course is not happening, and so we took that and we made a choice board for the students, and so that they're still learning the different skills, and they're exploring their passions, but they're also doing fun things like scavenger hunts or you know, making something out of nothing or whatever, and so that way they can still have a little bit of fun, but also still be creative and use those passions that they have.
At New Haven, we're incorporating student choice a lot more. I know that's coming up in the coming weeks. For me personally, I know as teachers, a lot of the time we think that we don't have, or we don't actually have a lot of the time to explore like the endless resources that are out there. There's so many resources, but due to this time and the situation, pretty much all these different resources are offering free something or another. So I'm taking the opportunity to look those over and see if there's anything that I can incorporate and stuff like that. So that's been uh, it takes a lot of time, but it's enjoyable, and you'll find some really cool stuff.
Looking ahead, I think that we are going to try to capitalize as much as we can on having kids do things that they can't do at school normally. So maybe creating assignments where they have to learn how to cook something new. And that's not something that they would have had an opportunity to do in a regular classroom, but now that they're home, trying to capitalize on those things that they would not have had the opportunity to do otherwise.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are endless, and I appreciate you guys not only being here this morning, but really the work that you do every day to really create these opportunities for kids in the midst of something that none of us were really thinking about or prepared for 6, 7 weeks ago, and where it's evolved to and come to. That's the power of the work that teachers do every day, and I'm grateful for you all for helping to lead that charge. So thank you guys so much for being a part of the panel today. You guys have definitely, I think, sparked some ideas and thoughts with the people out there watching, and I'm excited to see that evolve. So, Miss Brooke, you got anything else before we close out?
No, that is it. I did want to leave with one comment from the chat. It was from Miss Kathy Oler. She said, "These teachers are amazing. The creativity and intentional teaching makes me wish I was in school at this time." So I thought that was a good comment from Miss Kathy at OKH. Just as a one final shout out to our panelists today. And we have another super awesome panel from schools tomorrow, and we'll make sure that the dates and the episodes are correct for tomorrow. So we will see you guys at 8:30 a.m. for another super exciting Community Brew Live. So make it an impossible day, y'all.
See you guys.